when the name Corpse Paint came about.
For me, it's just like an electric jolt.
The real ugly side of humanity, and their music sounds like it.
I always wanted to be a band that was approachable to people, that was just regular ass people.
Yo, what's up? So before I start this episode, I want to bring up two really good friends of mine that I've met along the way. They've been the backbone and really the biggest supporters of this podcast since day one. Everything visually you see with this podcast has been done by Wither Designs and Benny Bones Art, and it could be your band next. Check them out on social media, get yourself something unique and original, and yeah, let's do this.
I got to start off by saying, so I'm into like documentary films, and obviously I've watched music videos since I was a kid, and I reached out to you specifically because I cannot say anything better than the fact of that new Vane music video is the best music video I've ever seen in my whole life.
Thank you, man.
And I'm not even clouding it up or like trying to like boost it. Like, it is the most creative video I've ever seen in my whole life on YouTube.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that for sure.
And I don't even know how to even start, because that video, like, how did you even think about that as a director? Like, how did you go into that project?
Yeah,
like, what do they bring you?
So we actually shot the video like pretty much a while ago at this point. It was during 2020. Yeah, Vane reached out to me and wanted to do a video for a while. And then the time was right. They had a new record coming out. And Anthony, the vocalist, I mean, I got to give props to him on a lot of like the creation, brainstorming stuff. We definitely he came into, into meeting with a ton to work with. Like he's a visionary. He's got great ideas. He's inspired by lots of stuff, and he doesn't always necessarily know exactly what he wants, but he knows when he sees it, like, yes, that's great. So he came to the table like knowing, like, I think he made like a playlist for me on YouTube of like all these references he liked. Some were like obscure old movies, some were like other music videos or like video game like trailers, or there was a ton of stuff to work with. So he was like, this is kind of the vibe I'm going for, the look. I think this would be cool, this, blah, blah, blah. And then basically I worked up a treatment. It was like, for those who don't know, a music video treatment is basically just like, it's a visual document that's, mine are usually like 15 to 20 pages long. And you write out, it's like a script, but instead of just like reading it on paper, it's very visual, and it's, put as much images as to tell your story and get across to the client like what you're going to make. So I put together this treatment, and he was like, this is cool, this sucks. So we went back and forth like a bunch. And but yeah, as in the video credits, like I said, directed by Max Moore, written by Anthony and Max. So it was very much like we wrote this thing together. And but I just want to give as much props to him as possible, because he's such a creative guy and had a clear vision of where he wants the visuals to go for his band. So, and that can't always be said for a lot of artists. A lot of artists I work with, they're like, hey, I don't know what I want. Kind of deal.
I was gonna say, man, like, getting into music videos in 2023, I feel like it's an interesting time, because I feel like everything has been done. Like, and I'm not trying to say that in like in a bad way, but I think that, the love story concepts, the common things you see in music videos are just so overdone in a way.
Yeah,
but
totally.
What I think is cool is like somebody like yourself, I watch it, I'm like, this dude is still coming up with unique and cool ideas, and I don't know where the hell it's coming from, but
well, thank you, man. Yeah, I mean, so a little backstory. I've been at this for a decade now. One of my first music videos was in 2012 for Converge, and kind of like got into directing music videos in that little lane of like Death Wish era bands like Code Orange and just like bands in that kind of wheelhouse, Converge, Code Orange kind of stuff. And so I've been at it for a long time, and I've made a ton of music videos. So
How many do you think you've made in total?
I need to do a good count, but definitely like over 200 for sure.
Okay.
And you know, I'm slowing down. I'm doing less and less each year, which is by design. Like I don't, you know, at one point in my life, I made like 40 music videos in 1 year, which is just insane and too much. But as you know, as I've grown and I was a kid when I started, you know what I mean? And
yeah, you were hungry, man. Well, I'm not saying you're not hungry now, but like you don't quality, you know what I mean? Quality over quantity.
Quality.
You learn, I would assume.
Exactly. And it's like, it's easy to pump out 40 music videos when you're a kid with a DSLR, like shooting like for low budget and just like homies roll in on tour and you do it and it's done. Like the stakes and everything, like the budgets are, and everything has exponentially grown as I've grown as a director and become like a working professional, etc. But to your point, like it is tough, especially for me in the metal, punk, hardcore world to keep things fresh because I guess with any genre, there's those video tropes of like, you think of rap videos, you think of like, you know, girls and money and shit, or you think country, you think of like beer and, you know, trucks. Yeah, exactly. Or whatever. And same thing with metal. You think like blood and fucking knives and there's all these like stereotypical genre video tropes that you always have to work past. But I've made so many things that it's like, it is challenging, I will say. I feel like, all right, what
I've
can
done
I
do?
That. Yeah, exactly. We've done the Raining Blood. How about, you know, so but I appreciate you saying that, and it's a video that we worked really, really hard on, and I think it turned out great. And I'm proud of it, and it's definitely unique and shocking and fucked up and all of those amazing things.
Well, it's
hardcore video.
It's definitely one of those things where I start to question, like, so you got into it many years ago, and when did you first start to feel like you were confident in yourself, like as a director?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably pretty early on, but naively, like I shouldn't have been. Like I was probably feeling confident a few years after starting, like, but I knew that I had so much to learn. Like I was never a part of the industry. So I live in Louisville, Kentucky.
Wait, you live there now?
I live in Louisville, Kentucky. That's where I'm born and raised. And so it's not necessarily a hot spot for like,
I was gonna say, man, what the hell? That's a one out there.
For sure. So it's like, you know, not the South, not quite the Midwest, but somewhere smack dab in the middle of the country. And so, you know, I was never like tapped in. I didn't really know people. So I was just a kid just hustling, trying to like, I grew up playing music and was in lots of different bands growing up. So I had that background. I knew I loved it. And then I went to an undergrad film program and like kind of near Nashville. So it was like Southern Kentucky. And so those two passions combined. Yeah, you know, you got music over here and you have film over here. So music videos was something that like, I was like, oh man, that would be great. I would love to like shoot videos and direct videos for my favorite bands. So like I knew nobody. I just like put in the work of like grinding my ass off, sending cold emails. And I was a kid, you know, I didn't know what a crew was or all these fancy cameras or like, you know, what a producer does. You know,
you just clicked record, man.
Yeah, I was just fucking going off instinct, and like I knew I liked these kinds of visuals, made me excited and fit this type of artist. So let me do that. And then as I grew over time, like eventually a few years later, a production company in Miami wanted to sign me, you know, to join their roster. And so that's when like the next step of professionalism came in, and you know, started traveling more for work and working with bigger crews. And then I got signed for with a rep, which in the music video world is basically just like your agent.
Yeah, and that's what I'm curious about, man, because it's funny because I love talking to filmmakers and music video creators, because I'm like, this is the one question though. So you brought up college, right?
Right.
So what was your education in this? What do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I have a bachelor in arts of like it's just an undergrad degree in film production. So
Okay.
I mean, it's but that sounds like fancy and great, but I mean, the program that I went to, it had just started the film program, so I was the first graduating class with this degree at this university. So it was like very minimal, and I was like the overachiever student who like, you know, most of the people that graduated with that degree like went on to go be like, I don't know, work some random job, you know.
Right.
So, and I was like, I want to do this, you know. So I put in more. It was very much like a program that like you got as much out of it as you put in. So I was like messaging professors on the side and like asking all these questions. And some of those first music videos I made, like early Code Orange videos and shit. The very first Code Orange video I made, I was in college. I rented the lighting equipment from the school, drove back to Louisville, shot the video with all the gear for free, and returned it. Like that kind of shit.
No way. That's awesome.
So, you know, it as much as like I went to school for it and there was a lot that I did learn just on basics. There was no course on music video directing or like it was the wild, wild west. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what I get curious about, man, because the more I get into the music, like, I don't even want to say it, like music industry, and like
yeah, of course.
talk to people that have made it, I'm like, everything's on YouTube. You can learn everything if you really try. But people like yourself, I like to ask, do you think that you would go back to college again? You know what I mean?
Like at this like if I had to do it over again, would I do it?
If you had to do it over again, would you have spent was it 2 years or 4 years?
It was a 4-year program.
Yeah.
I probably would, because for me, like I was so young and I was a kid, you know, I didn't know what like I was just like a little hardcore kid, like in a university with a bunch of frat guys, like all pissed off. Like I didn't quite have the confidence of like who I was. And it really just like guided me for those 4 years to like, let me just like figure it out and find something I'm interested in. Was it necessary to what I'm doing now? No, but I think like, I don't know what else I would have done. Maybe I would have like been a marketing manager and go work at an ad agency or something, which is funny because what I'm trying to do now is direct more commercials.
Yeah.
So that would have been fine.
Cool.
Anyways, but the whole point is I think I would have, for me personally, because it allows 4 years when you're young and kind of a fuck up and don't know what's going on. Not everybody, but for me, like,
oh, that's a good way to put it, man. I mean,
you know, to have to like be 19, 20, however old you are when you get out of around that age, and like for me to try to start a production company and like go right into it, like it wouldn't have worked. Like I needed those 4 years buffer to like figure myself out and like, you know, mature a little bit and, you know, figure out what I want to do with my life. So for me, I think it was great.
Awesome. So the more I dig deep into your you know, portfolio, me, the only thing I've seen is mostly the metal stuff because that's where I'm at. But like, it seems like nowadays and in the past, like you've kind of branched out. Like you're not only a metal guy, you're doing like rap videos, you're doing like other stuff.
Like pop punk videos, kind of more indie stuff. Yeah. I mean, so my kind of background, like I said, I was like, grew up in the punk scene. I was in punk and hardcore bands and stuff. So that was very much like when I was very first getting started. Like I said, like one of my first videos was Converge. So it was like, that kind of sets you on a path. It's like, you know, yeah, exactly. And I have like, this is just like a few of the videos. I mean, I've directed like 200 videos plus. So this is only just like a handful.
Yeah, exactly.
But like once I got in that lane, like Converge, Code Orange, that kind of stuff, like those kinds of bands, those kinds of jobs started coming.
Right.
And then it was really kind of after that I first got going, it was like the era, I guess like 2014, 15, 16, that like metalcore was huge.
Right.
And I mean, I'm talking like of Mice and Men shit. So basically, like for those years, 14, 15, 16, I got in with Rise Records. And I don't know if you're familiar with them, but I'm sure you are.
Yeah, they're more like metalcore, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more like, I mean, I'm probably pissing people off, but like mall
Oh.
scream type, like more like commercially, they don't have like, you know, black metal.
Here's the thing. I think everybody that listens to any type of weird music has a sweet spot for something that somebody doesn't like. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, dude.
you know,
for
metalcore
sure.
is awesome. I love metalcore, man. Kill Switch Engage. Come on.
Exactly. I'm with you.
Okay.
So basically that era after I got started was like into metalcore, because at that time, basically metalcore had money, and like punk and hardcore has never had money. And I hate to say that, but like as somebody who like it takes money to make videos, at that time I was like, yeah, this sounds great. If Mice and Men was like in the top 10 Billboard at that time, 2014, 2015. So I started doing videos for them, ton of videos for Rise Records, and all of those kinds of Warped Tour style metal, pop punk ish.
Yeah.
So I kept doing that. And as I got older, and so now we're moving into like 2016, 17, 18, I had made a ton of metal videos. I had made a ton of like all of the auxiliary genres. I, you know, just tons of anything basically alternative. I was in that kind of wheelhouse. And I wanted to do something different. Like there was like emo rap was like a thing that was coming out around that time. And I was inspired like to just not have to fucking shoot a band, honestly. Like work with a solo artist and like not have to shoot a drummer. After doing that like 100 times over the last few years, it's like, oh, that sounds awesome. We don't have to like, we don't need amps. We don't need guitars. We can just shoot. We can do something totally different. And that's what really drew me to start working in other genres and trying different things. Yeah. And again, like, I'm not like, I've done lots and lots of metal music videos. And I think what I'm most known for is like those type things. Like people view me as the rock guy or like the metal director, hardcore, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Yeah. But like, I'm not that. I'm just a guy, right? So like, I love pop music. I love hip hop and shit. So I'm inspired by all kinds of shit. So especially as I've gotten older, you know, I was 19, I was like, I'm a hardcore kid. And I was about to say, man. I'm just a human being, and I will still like put on like Trapped Under Ice or something awesome or Turnstile or some shit when I'm like in the gym. But you know, I also listen to like pop music. So all of that said, like I certainly am not I'm not that like guy that is forcing myself to be into metal like exclusively. But that said, like I'm writing on like a metal thing like next week. So it's all
that's cool. I was about to say, man, I think that goes back to the beginning of like you know, not getting burnt out. You know, because like I just feel like, oh man, the artistic writer's block comes in all shapes and forms. And like I gotta ask, like, how do you jump over that hoop? Like I'm assuming in the editing phase, you're just like, fuck, this is my 250th video.
Yeah, well, it for real doesn't feel that way to me anymore. I mean, I think that it's less in the editing phase and more in the writing. Like 90% of what music video directing is I'm only like last year I was only on set like 10 days out of the year. I only had like 10 projects. So, you know, there's this like people think that I'm like, oh, you must be like fucking with cameras all day long, whatever. 95% of my job is sitting in my office at my computer, writing treatments and pitching on projects. I also do a lot of editing as well. So, you know, but the whole bit is like getting over the writer's block and like any moment where I'm like, frustrated, it's always in the pre-production, like the writing, pitching part.
Oh, okay.
Once the treatment's approved by the client and we budget it and we're locked in, I know exactly how it's going to be cut. I know exactly, it's already structured out. The editing should be like just the execution of the pre-planning, right? So for me, like when I get some type of, here's the new blah, blah, blah single, here's the budget, the label or the management or whoever reach out to me and say, do you want to write on this? Basically, it means like, do I want to put together a treatment to submit for them to consider hiring me on the job? So they'll usually say like, here's the budget. They might be
it
like,
it sounds like a bidding thing, like for a house.
100%, because there's other directors that are also pitching too. So that's why I was saying it's constantly like most of my job is writing, and a successful music video director knows how to make a great pitch, because oftentimes you don't know who you're up against or how many other directors are writing. So basically, like in that kind of process, they're like, do you want to write? If I like the artist and the budget's good, and sometimes they'll be like, creative's open, write whatever, which I kind of like that, because I'm not like forced into, I can just write what I think is cool. But it's a lot. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, we're looking for a dark video with, here's what the lyrics are about. We want something in kind of this vein. So
like
that kind of helps. Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing that helps me get over the writer's block is that I don't like have like this big vault of like video ideas, and that when it runs dry that I'm fucked. Like I don't just pull from that well and like slap it on this artist. Every concept is like hand tailored for that song, for that artist. And I try to treat it as, and I know this is not like punk or cool to talk about, but like we treat it as much as like a marketing thing, as like you're making an ad for the record, for the single, for the artist. So
well, it's like one of those things, like I feel like in the beginning, a lot of bands probably came to you and they're like, I have no idea what I want to do. And now the bands are like, all right, I'm to the stage where this is kind of what I want to, this is what it's got to be for the money to be thrown at you.
Exactly. Know? And a lot of bands, like, especially like older artists, already have kind of an identity. They already have a vibe. They already have like, you know what I mean? So that kind of helps. And all of this, what I'm getting at is that kind of helps some of the monotony out of it. It's like, oh, how could anybody want to make 200 music videos? But the thing is like, it's always something different. There's always a new set of challenges. There's unlimited amount of creativity to be able to do whatever I want. Like the music video world is such a director's medium. Right. Like, you know, they come to you to have the idea a lot of times. So there's so much freedom there. And then the other thing, the biggest thing that gets me over the hump is, and this might be too much in the weeds that that I don't think anybody cares about, but basically I stopped trying to like force creativity and be like this great, I have this amazing idea. This is crazy idea. Let me type it out and send it to them. I stopped doing that. Instead, what I'll do is I'll look through visual images and find something I'm visually inspired by. Okay. And if that sparks an idea, then I can actually show them rather than tell them. If I can't show the artist like a picture or an image or a set of images or a reference video of what we want to do, I'm not going to even pitch it. Because does that make sense? Like
it makes sense, because if you're going to do a music video, it's got to be visually pulling. You know what I mean? If somebody says to you, I want to do a love story and I want there to be a burning rose in it and me in a dark room, it's like, okay, I've done those. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But and also to your point, like if I type that exact sentence that you just said, a burning rose, dark room, love story, and I sent that on a piece of paper to the artist, they're like, yes, sounds cool. But if I actually find a picture of a burning rose that looks badass in this like really dark ambient space that has this moody lighting, And then these like series of vignettes of all these couples that are in love, that story comes alive and they get it like that. So
Right.
I try to like find the images, find my references, mix and match and pull things together. And that gets my brain going way more than me just like staring at, you know, the wall over here and being like, oh, how about a giant gets his head cut off in this band video? You know, like, and there's certain, you got to let your mind run wild. But for me, my creative process is starting with my references and then working backwards from there, if that makes sense.
So you brought up the fact that you have like a lot of creative freedom. And I think that's the one thing that kind of drags me towards music videos and documentaries, because you can not only support the artist, but you can enhance their idea. And I gotta ask, you know, what excites you, like when you get out of bed every morning, what excites you to do what you do with like your quote unquote job, if you would consider that, because you probably love what you do.
I do love what I do, for sure. I think I've always been like a creative person, and I love just like the thing about, I love creating things, and that the fact that I get to do that for a living, like obviously I make a living and you know, money is great, but you have to want, for music videos, you have to want or enjoy it beyond the money, because there's so many times where, you know, the budgets weren't great in the years past and I wasn't making shit. And, you know, so what's the factor X that pushes you to keep doing it? And I think music videos or short form content in general is great because, especially for a young director, because it's like this like instant gratification, relatively speaking. Like, you get the email or you get an opportunity to work with an artist, and it's like, oh, somebody you love, like, or you respect, or you've been listening to your whole life. Obviously that doesn't happen when you first start out, but at this point, like, oh, Bing, get that email notification, blah 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 wants to work with you. Fuck yeah, that excites me. That's like that instant rush. Ooh, I want to get this job. Let me like get into this creative and make something cool. So I make the treatment, send it off. They love it. Bing, instant gratification, those endorphins going. And then every step of the process of like making it, making a shot list and then going into shooting it, and everybody's happy. And then finally, like when it's done, fuck yes, we go through revisions, client loves it, artist is great, let's do it. And then the release day, and then it releases and all the fans are talking about it. And it, relatively speaking, compared to like a feature film or something else, or, you know, I know you've made documentaries and stuff, that can be such a lengthy process.
Oh yeah.
But this can be like, I've had this happen, that whole span of everything happen in 2 weeks from like inception to release, or as much as like 6 months. But that's still relatively short in terms of filmmaking standards. And so I think the thing that drives me, for better or for worse, is that that rush of like doing a good job and like that instant gratification. And I think in other ways, it's a great area for young, inexperienced directors to find their voice and to get their name out there. It's like, if you're making a documentary about a band, if you're making a documentary about something that you're really passionate about, and you're a brand new filmmaker, you make the piece and it's like, fuck, now what? How do I get this out to people? If you're making a documentary about an artist and they already have a fan base, there's already a built-in audience and it goes straight into that channel. Same with like music videos. It's like, work with, an artist that is extremely popular. Their videos get millions of views. It goes right into that channel, and it makes you work so much harder knowing that they will be seen. It's harder.
It will be seen.
Nobody wants to make art in their bedroom if nobody's going to fucking listen to it or watch it or view it, you know?
It's definitely one of those things where, like, I think me and you relate on that level, because you were in bands. I was in one band in the past for like 4 years, and I don't know. I've kind of grown out of promoting myself, and I promote other people now. You know what I mean? And that's the same with you. Like, for better or worse, like that. I don't know. I feel like I'm still involved creatively.
Totally. yeah, you found your lane to in something that you find interesting and to share other people's stories, and you've been at it for a while, so obviously you're good at it. And then when you get those like instant gratification rewards that like, hey, your podcast is sick, or hey, your documentary is sick, or your music video, whatever, it makes you want to do it more. And
Right.
not everybody needs to be an artist. Not everybody wants to be in the front. I just want to create shit. I don't give a fuck about my ego. I want to like have a normal life, and I'm married and have a wife and a house and shit. So I want to pay my bills, and if I can do that while being creative, then that is the ultimate win for me. So that's kind of what my ethos of my life is.
So I got to bring up, I talked to, crap, I forgot his name, but he did like a Lamb of God video, and he told me he was married too.
Mhm.
And I gotta ask, traveling and trying to leverage a healthy marriage, is that easy?
For us, it is like, I mean, it takes communication, but
Yeah.
we've been married for almost coming up on 5 years, and then I've been dating her since college. So we've been together for like 12 years. So we're like, people were like, "Oh, I married my best friend," and they're like, I hear that, and I'm like, "No, you didn't. You're not. This is truly like my best friend." So
Yeah.
we're in it. We're good, and just think it takes communication. I will say, like, I don't love traveling. I'm not like
No.
I've had like hundreds and hundreds of flights over the years and flown all over the country doing music videos and shoots and commercials and shit. I don't love doing it. I hate traveling. So I try to like, as much as possible, take jobs that, sometimes if it's a really big video and I have to do it, great. I'm good with it. But it's the last few years, especially with COVID, when that hit, I was like, I don't really want to fly to LA right now. So I kind of stopped writing on jobs that were shooting in LA.
Yeah.
But I've been working in Nashville a lot, since that's pretty close to Louisville. It's just like a 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
And that's worked out great. Like having Nashville close, there's so much production there. Obviously there's tons of artists there. I mean, you might think like country music, but there's like unbelievable amount of like musicians and talent there, not just in country, obviously. So that's been really great for me to like avoid having to fly to LA every single shoot.
Well, the one thing I'm trying to figure out is like traveling with expensive equipment. Like I called up I called up my local flight, and I was like, okay, what are our options for bringing expensive camera gear on the plane? And I'm still like learning like how to get lighting from X to Z,
Right.
how to get, but like I'm assuming most people rent that kind of stuff, the lighting.
Yeah, I mean, at least we do, but I mean, I've flown with cameras and stuff before too.
Yeah.
But it's a different vibe. Like if you're on like a low budget documentary and you need to have all that stuff, like a little lighting kit and your camera and your sound, and you're running it and you're flying to meet somebody, it makes more sense to like, hey, I'd rather just like bring a little, that makes sense. But like if I'm going to LA and I'm the only person from traveling, we're gonna get every single fucking piece of gear in Los Angeles, or even in Nashville. But I don't own like a little camera, but everything that we use for any shoot that I have is all rented for the day, which is pretty per standard. Like most directors don't own.
Well, it's like one of those things where like Reds, they're like freaking $25,000, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean,
it
it gets up there, and that's why I was like getting into filmmaking. I was like, I'm never gonna play the gear thing. I'm never gonna like try to buy a camera.
No shit. Okay.
I mean, early on, like I had little DSLRs, and I still have like a Blackmagic camera just in case I need to shoot something here and there. But I every single shoot for the last like probably 4 years, 5 years, I've rented every single piece of equipment. Wow. And that's per standard, like that's built into the budget, you know what I mean? But
yeah, well, it's cool that you say that, because the That opens my eyes because sometimes you assume that what you see online is like, oh, well, they have this huge, they probably have like millions of dollars, they're killing it, but no, it's like renting and like
Yeah.
trying to figure it out,
For sure. Like I'd rather rent the camera for $1,000 for the day, have that in the budget that the client's paying for, than me have to go spend, fucking the cameras that we shoot on are like just for the basic model, like 80, 90 grand, not including the lenses, media, and all the camera support. So dude, no, I'm keeping my bottom line as like to zero as much as I can. But for you, like if you, it makes sense. Like if you're doing like interviews and I don't know too much about like all the stuff where you need to travel and stuff, but it's for me, it's always about what makes sense for the job. If you have low budget, then try to get your homie with the camera to give you a good deal. Or if you have a great budget, then let's rent the best camera we can, so it always, it's not just like an ego thing or like, I only shoot on great cameras. Like if I have $500, I'm not renting, an Alexa.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot on what I have, so it always is just that gliding scale of like what the project fits and what the budget is, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Totally. So what are you up to recently? Let's get the update on like your 2023 goals and ambitions and etc.
Totally. Yeah. So I've had 2 shoots so far this year. One was like a commercial, and then the other was a music video in Nashville. And the next bit, like I said earlier, I'm trying to kind of like transition a bit into commercial directing. And I've been doing that the last few years.
Like Gatorade, like stuff like that.
Oh, hell yeah. Like any national big brands, big or small. And the reason for that is like, so I'm 32. I've been making music videos for a decade. And I feel like there's kind of a shelf life for the cool, young, hip director. The 18-year-old kids in like the cool, like black metal band, do they want a 60-year-old guy directing their music video who's like, back in my day, I did a Converge video, so there's a shelf life, and I'm totally understanding that and get that. And
now you're still young though. What are you talking about?
No,
man?
I know. I'm not like some like old guy. I'm like like I'm just getting started and like haven't even made my best shit yet.
Okay, so knocked loose mistakes like fractures, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta ask about the production of this video. Must have been super messy. How did it not get on the camera lens? And how did you manage to keep all of that paint in one white room, dude?
Oh, dude, it was, to be honest, it was a fucking nightmare. I mean, I will say,
like it looked like a watery substance. Like
I mean, it was just straight paint mixed with water.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
So we built that set. Like, I don't know if you watched the video, but if you watch the video and you kind of can tell, but I was thinking like, if we're building a set to dump paint in, like we got to make the room at least like semi interesting.
Oh, I watched it, man. And I was like, I was looking at it. I'm like, how did this get made? I was so confused.
Hell yeah. That's what we want. We want something weird. And like, it's not just like a room in a house. So I had the production designer build like a perspective. Like if this is the side of it, this is where we're shooting this way into it. It had a perspective to it. So it got smaller as it goes back. It was it's a slight little detail, but it makes it like this slight, like weird. It makes the set look a lot longer than it is. And then putting that top window in there, I thought was just interesting and felt surreal and weird. But
was
was
that in like a storage unit or something? What?
It was just like in a warehouse. We didn't, the video wasn't like a massive budget. So it was like, I mean, it was fine budget, like to make the thing work, but we couldn't like rent like an actual studio space or anything. So it was just like in a warehouse, and we had them build the set, and then we lit it from above. Like we put some diffusion over that hole where the paint comes through at the top, and just lit from the top. And shot all the dry parts first, and then ended with all that paint shit. And basically, they rigged like some like setup where there was like carry style, like this huge bucket that could be pulled by a rope. That as you pull it, it just dumps the shit down. So we had enough paint to do basically like 2 takes. And yeah, we just rolled on it and dumped it in there. We had plastic down underneath the set, but
Okay.
dude, it was nasty. Like, yeah, the dumpster that we threw all the shit away in after was like looked like a paint bomb that exploded out of there. It was like dripping all over the dude. We had to pressure wash it was such a long day cleaning that up. Like, I swear I'll never do paint like that ever again after that video.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so when you say make the set, did you take like drywall and like basically have like a construction team? Like,
Yeah, so I hired a production designer who's basically the person. I was like, this is what I want it to look like. And sent a bunch of reference images in my treatment of like, I want it to be like this with a weird perspective and a hole up here to light from, and then we'll dress it with this furniture. And so they put together like a little like 3D rendering, and actually made plans, like construction plans of asked how big it was and all that. And then they had like a 1 or 2 person little construction team that would actually buy the materials, and they just built right there on the site that we were shooting. And so, I'm not like a handy guy. I'm not gonna fucking get up there with a hammer and start making it.
I was like, is Max a carpenter too? He's multifaceted.
No, fuck no. And that's the thing I learned early on is like, to make great things, any movie you've ever seen or any great music video or any piece of commercial or any visual content that you love was made not by one person, but by a team of people. And like really embracing that like filmmaking is a team sport early on has been something that I think a lot of young directors should it's not just about you and your ego and your great idea. You got to like hire the right people and lean on people that you trust, and so that they have as much ownership of the video as you do, and that we can all feel like we're making something awesome. So if that makes sense. So yeah, I wasn't in there like hammering shit, but they built the set, and it was as messy, if not more of a nightmare to clean up than you would.
Well, another thing I wanted to bring up too is oh man, imagine if the camera faulted on that 2 takes.
Oh
you would have to redo the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make sure you have your shit together, like the batteries are charged and you're running, and everything's all good for sure. I also did a shoot with that band Code Orange.
Yeah.
Probably like a year ago, and we shot it in LA, and it was like basically.
Are you talking about the one where they're on the couch?
Yeah, it's called Out for Blood. That one.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to like seemingly like rain. People thought it was blood, but we actually used black paint because we didn't want to do blood, but it looks like blood. Yeah. But it basically rains blood from like these pipe things above the crowd, and god damn it, it was messy. Like,
I know what video you're talking about now. Like
he's on crowd surfing like on top of them while with the mic. Yeah. It's like shit all over him.
I just when it comes down to that stuff, dude, I'm always questioning the director's camera lens, dude. How do you defend it? How do you
well that kind of situation, especially because we're using like really expensive cameras and lenses, like the whole rig can cost like $100K or whatever or more. Like the set of lenses we just shot in Nashville, like the set was like, or the lenses set, 3-piece lenses was like over $100,000 to buy. So you don't want to take chances. So they wrapped the whole camera up so nothing can get in it, and then they put a matte box in the front of the lens, which is basically just like a piece of glass. So it's everything is totally encased. So if there was splatter, it's not going to get on the camera. So we definitely take extra care with that kind of shit. Just like
now, when you say wrap, is that just like clear plastic or something?
Yeah, they have like little camera wraps and stuff that they put over the camera and stuff. So yeah, we keep it. And then also like we'll use like a longer lens to move the camera back like 20 feet, and even though the shot's tight, like I'm always like sacrificing that. I would never dump that with like a wide angle lens, like 6 inches away. You know what I mean? Like we're setting ourselves up for success, not failure with that kind of shit.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like that would be like a death sentence. You'd be renting
Yeah.
off your house after that one.
no. We don't want to make the rental people pissed off or have to file an insurance claim or some shit. So
Yeah.
it's all good. But yeah, I mean, I said I would never do paint stuff again, and we just did it. I like last 2 weeks ago in Nashville. Like this whole
How did you learn from your first experience? What did you change?
No. Oh, it was a little bit more contained than that knock loose thing, but it was
A
like,
little bit less water.
yeah, and it was just different. Like paint was coming out of the shower head, rather than like being dumped. So it was like at least contained in the shower stall that we built.
Yeah.
So anyways, but yeah, for some reason I always write paint shit and I need to stop because it's miserable.
Yeah. Okay, so knocked loose the rain. I want to bring that one up too. Because that was another one where I was looking at it and I was like, did they construct some type of glass case, like a fish bowl or something? Like,
Right. Yeah.
what's the mystery of that?
So
And
straight up,
the
like,
dark water.
yeah. So straight up, like when I mean, this is not cool points at all, but I don't give a fuck.
It's cool to me, man. We're good.
No, like what I'm about to tell you. So when I was probably like 16, whatever, 17, I was watching I would come home from school and I would watch Fuse. This probably dates me so much. It was this thing on cable where they would just play like alternative music videos. Like
Okay.
this is like My Chemical Romance, like Black Parade era, that kind of like vibe. But I would watch Fuse and there was like Under Oath videos on there and shit. And it was like mid 2000s. So like that was like kind of my wheelhouse, whatever. But I remember seeing this behind the scenes of this Under Oath video and I was just like a kid and I was like, how did they fucking shoot that where they flooded this room? And they basically blacked out the bottom of a pool and dropped the set walls into it and lowered this like it's like 3 walls like this and you're dropping the set into the pool. So it looks like this room is like full of water, but really it's just set down into it.
Okay.
And so that first gave me like the idea. I was like, fuck, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I knew I would rip that one day. Money. So that's what the rain was for Knock Loose. It's not like we've seen flooding like music videos so many times. This was me, like the song's called The Ring. I was like, fuck it, let's just like flood some rooms and like put you all in water and not overthink it and make a cool like hardcore video.
So is some type of did a case have to be like made or something like
For the camera?
No. Like for him to be in the room, how did you flood the room?
We built the room. It's a 3-walled set like this, and we shot it dry first with just like a hose over top with rain coming down.
Okay.
And we shot in a warehouse where like we could get it wet and whatever. And then in this other room, that had this. It was this old warehouse, and it had this massive hinge door that went right outside and had a drain outside. And I got this massive inflatable pool.
No way.
And we filled it up, and we needed the space to be dark. Like you can't just, I didn't want to shoot it outside because then we would have to shoot through the night, and that's just fucking miserable for everybody. Yeah. So I filled this, it was probably like a 16-foot, it's a circle pool, like inflatable cheap. It was like $300 or something. And the guy at the warehouse that I rented somehow had this, like, it was legal, but you pay for this thing where it measures the water and you can tap into a fire hose. I had never heard of it, but you could
tap into a fire hose.
I don't know. He tapped into this fire hose and we filled up this pool in like 2 hours that normally should take like a couple days to fill because it's like so many damn gallons of water. And then it keeps track of how much water you're using, and then you go to the water company, you pay it. I don't know how it works, but that's how we filled the pool. So then once we had the set, we shot all the stuff to where it was like dry, semi-dry. We moved 2 of the walls and set them down into the inflatable pool. And the pool is blacked out at the bottom with black fabric. And the thing about water is like, if it's the water was only like 4 feet deep, but if you black out the bottom of a pool, you can't tell the depth because it just sucks light and you can't see how deep it goes.
Now, is that why it's that dark? Because the black under it?
Yeah, it's
Like,
just
you
black
didn't color.
fabric.
You didn't color the water.
No, it's just regular water,
What?
with black fabric.
No way.
So that's like when you look at a swimming pool, it's like, oh, the water's so blue. The water's clear, but you're just seeing the blue liner underneath. So
Yeah.
it takes whatever color. So, anyways, like for them to like the room to seemingly get more full, they just like start on their, standing up, and then they go to their knees, and then they go to their chest. So they're just moving, but the water level isn't moving, if that makes sense.
No, it's debunked. So I'm gonna have to watch. I'm gonna have to watch it after this.
It looks way less impressive when you know when you know how to do it.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's a funny thing for you. It's to figure out how to make very complex ideas happen, and then watch
Doable,
them,
shootable,
and then watch them
doable.
after, and
See,
watch them after.
I'm not like, oh, that looks shitty. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, that I can see past the mystique of like what we're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you pull the curtain back, it's hard to unsee it. So
Well, I feel like just for you to be like, oh man, like 700,000 people watched me buy a swimming pool and put a black tarp under it, and they don't even know.
yeah, and then I made as cringeworthy as it is, whatever. But I've been posting on TikTok the last few years, and like behind the scenes stuff of my shoots, and I did a few TikToks on that like set.
Yeah.
And they did really well. Like some of them had like 400,000 views or some shit of like.
Jesus Christ.
So it's kind of what I learned from that experience is like people, if you have a unique way to shoot something, even if people aren't into knock loose or hardcore or whatever, they like seeing that kind of like pull back the curtain uniqueness of how you accomplish something creative. So
Yeah.
I think that was the lesson with those TikToks, kind of doing pretty well.
So what was your first ever music video you shot? What, and how did it go?
Yeah. My twin brother, I'm an identical twin, and he was in this band called Xerxes. And it was like a melodic hardcore band. So I first did a music video for them, but like it was like I think I did it for free. But like what I credit as like my very first like real ass music video.
That's online that I could check out.
Yeah, it's Converge Aimless Arrow. And I actually did that video for free as well. But I was like a kid, like why the fuck would they give me money? So I had a friend who knew Converge and was like, hey, can you intro me? I want to ask to do a video. And I was like, I'll do it for free. And they're like, okay, sure. And I did it, and they liked it, and it went well. And that video propelled me to make a lot of other videos and get jobs with actual budgets and shit. So I didn't even just make the video for free. Like we built a set and stuff. I straight up like saved my own. I think I spent like $300 of my own dollars. This is when I'm like young, like
yeah, that's a lot.
It's like fuck, dude. So I was definitely investing in myself and investing in like the project that I knew Converge had a good fan base, and like.
Well, that's definitely a good band to even if you gave up filmmaking after that video. like Converge, just to say that you filmed a video for them
totally
would be
for
awesome.
Sure. So that was the first like thing to get the ball rolling. And
so how did it actually go? Were you stressed or anything? Did you?
I was stressed out of my fucking mind. Like this was like, I mean, now I've made so many music videos where the stakes are even more, like infinitely more stressful with the amount of money that they put in, or the deadlines, or I've worked with some big artists and shit where the stakes are definitely higher. When you get paid more money, you feel unbelievably more.
And the attitudes are probably different because they know way more people are gonna see it. Maybe I don't know.
And it's like there's Zoom calls with the marketing team at the label, there's Zoom calls with the management and pitching to there's so many more people involved as you get higher into like working with like major labels and stuff. Yeah. So, back then it was just like Epitaph is a great big label, but they're still an indie label, and they're a bunch of like punk guys. Like, you know, they don't give a fuck, and they just let me. And I did the video for free, so fuck yeah, it worked perfectly. They didn't have to pay for it. So it was very hands off. Like, I didn't even write a treatment. Me and Jacob Bannon, the singer, were just emailing. He was like, "This is what the song's about. I think this would be cool." And I was like, "Great, I'll run with that." And I literally just delivered the video completely finished, and he had no edits, nothing. He said, I think he said like goosebumps or something.
That's it.
And then the video came out, and I was like, "Fuck!" it was crazy. But I like, yeah, the video is cut so quick. There's like hundreds and hundreds of cuts in it, and I was not as, you know, efficient of an editor, you know, 10 years ago. So it took me forever. I locked in for like a week. I moved back to like my college where I was going to college, and I didn't have internet yet. So I was just in this apartment with no internet, and I just straight edited the video. So I would say overall it went well, and it kickstarted a career for me that I'm very grateful to, you know, have the accolades and the amount of work that I've had as a random fucker from Kentucky. So
yeah. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into who you were before all of this. I know that you were in a band, but like, did you it's gonna sound really funny, but did you feel like you like fit in? Were you a sports person? Like, how did you
no, I was like straight, like music was always my thing growing up, like through high school. And I went to a traditional high school where you had to wear uniforms and stuff. And I was like, me and my twin brother, we were like the emo kids. Like, we did not fit in at all. I loved doing like art, like visual art. And that was like our safe haven in high school, was like the art room where like the quote weird kids were in, and we felt comfortable there. And that was the vibe. That was the move all through high school. It's just like music and art and shit. So I've always been like a creative person, and like, I guess like more drawn to like rock alternative music. And like through middle school, high school, I was into more like rock side of things, like emo music. And it wasn't until like late high school that got into hardcore, and then early college I listened to it. But I also listened to pop punk a lot too throughout that time period, and still do. I have no shame. That's my like not even guilty pleasure, just like pleasure. I'm good with that. But yeah, me growing up, music defined a lot of who I was, and I think that's a big reason why I've stuck with music videos. Is like, I'm not trying to like go make a movie. I love movies, but like, I love music more. Like, I really do. I could live without seeing it. I could probably, this is a controversial statement, I could probably live without seeing a movie for the rest of my life.
That's
if
good.
I could listen to music, I would take music 100% over movies any day.
Yeah.
That's just how much I love music. So that was me. And then like, you know, diving in and doing this music video thing and figuring out in my 20s and traveling all over the place. You know, it was a bumpy road, but ultimately it was like this. And I feel like I'm making my best work that I ever have in the last two years to now. Like, everything I've done previously, I literally can't even like, that's why like everything on my website, I've made so many music videos, but all of those videos are literally from, with the exception of maybe like one, was from like 2020 to now, which compared to how long I've been doing it.
Well, I think that's like common with any like creative person. They're always like, what I'm doing right now is the best in my past.
Yeah, I mean,
let's just push that to the side a little bit.
For sure. But I do hate
it's like we're never
like
happy.
we're like bands are like, we're maturing. It's a more mature sound, and not every record can be. And I've made some. Not every video I make tops the other one. Like, you know, I'm not trying to say that. Like, I do kind of hate that, even though I just said that. Like, I just mean in general, I'm more on my shit. But there's still great videos I made 3 years ago that are better than the thing I made last week. So you can't capture lightning in a bottle every single time, and I'm the first to admit that. So,
well, I feel like the biggest thing is like you kept up with it. Like you said, you're 32, right?
Correct.
So you got into it at what age again?
Early 20s, like maybe, but I was like fucking around when I was like 19, 20 ish.
Okay, so let's say, yeah, 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, I say I've been like from the start of my very first like professional music video, the Converge thing, to now. It's been a decade.
Yeah.
So, but like, just being a kid, and there's nothing wrong with like figuring out as you go.
Yeah.
No one expects you to like jump into a hobby or a career path and know exactly what you're doing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, I think that's a common case with. I think it's cool that you found your path pretty early. Most people don't. I talk to people all the time, and they're like, I still don't know what the fuck I want to do.
For sure. But one thing I will say, like to your point with that though, is that like the thing I've learned with watching other directors and being in this industry is it's taught me that everybody's path looks different and everybody's timeline looks different. Like there's no like set test to become a director. It's not like you like a doctor or a lawyer. You go to this school, you take this test, boom, you're a doctor. Great. And then you do this, this, and this, and you do it for this amount of time. And this is how you do it. There's no rules with directing or music video directing, whatever. There's like paths that make sense, and things that have worked in the past. And it's so easy to compare
like a formula.
Yeah. There's no like right or wrong way to make a successful career in directing. You got to just find your own way. And it's so easy to look at other directors, especially on Instagram or whatever, and be like, oh, fuck, they're working with blah, blah, blah artist. Or directors that I follow, it's like, oh, we both bid on this job and they got it over me. Fuck. Or like, there's so many ways to compare yourself, or be like, they're making this, seemingly making tons of money and working with great clients. You got to have the thick skin enough to be like, I'm on my own path. I'm figuring my shit out at my own time.
Yeah.
And that's so much easier said than done. But that's the thing I've learned from being in this industry the last 10 years is like, you got to stay in your own lane, stay focused on what makes you happy and why you got into it in the first place. Don't worry about like, figuring your shit out, or all the steps will come naturally if you stick with it. Does that make sense?
No, totally. I think no, that's super powerful because especially nowadays, man, like with music and just the overbearing amount of shit that comes on this thing. It's very easy to compare yourself.
And especially think about like artists too. I mean, everybody's sharing their end of the year wrapped like Spotify statistics of like who has more monthly followers and
I'm like, why? Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, just think about the mental health of all these. I mean, dude, it's so hard. So you gotta. I mean, I'm preaching to myself here. You gotta just shut the fuck up and stay.
Oh no, I'm preaching to myself. I think we're both having a moment right now.
Yeah. Oh no, we totally, bro. But yeah, no, it's been a great ride, and I'm smack dab in the middle of it, so I'm enjoying it.
That's cool, man. So bringing it to what we kind of got into, but then we got off task, well, in a good way. So you said you're halfway through. You're halfway.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, sure. I feel like I'm in the middle, the thick of it.
Sweet. I wanted to make sure. So you said that you're going to be doing commercials and stuff like that.
Yes. So that's definitely
where are you veering towards?
So yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, like I think there's kind of a shelf life with music video directing. Like again, like the 18-year-old kids who start the cool hip band, like, do they want like a 60-year-old director who has done cool shit in the past? Probably not. Like they want somebody in their 20s or 30s that feels and knows the culture. And so as I get older and think about like what I want for my future, like I don't want to make 20 music videos a year for the rest of my life. Like it's not something I want to do. Like I would love to make one or two music videos a year for the rest of my life. That would be fucking amazing. Cause I love the process. I love music, but just thinking about like financially viable shit, commercial directing is so much more I mean, totally just be candid. It's like a money move. I mean, it's like, I'm not passionate about fucking McDonald's, but I'll do a fucking McDonald's commercial. I don't give a shit. Like, it's, they pay great. So it is what it is. But it's just a different avenue. But it's different, but also it's not. Like, the way I view music, and I touched on this earlier, is like a music video is to promote the record, to promote the single and the artist. It's a piece of advertising for the product that you can buy. And it's the same fucking thing for commercials. It's like you're selling something. And so you take those same aspects of like fitting the brand of the band, fitting the aesthetic, and you take all of that and you do it over here for, whatever. So like at the end of the year, I was editing a whole campaign for Vans. And so like Vans shoe company, whatever. And, it was just something different and totally cool. And a nice, just like, and I wasn't directing that piece. So it was just kind of nice to just like take the back seat as an editor and make good money and work on something that's still creative. And Vans is cool. Like, I have Vans, so I'm down with it. So finding those like right clients and right things to pitch on, and it's just how the next step in my career. I'm hoping to just continue that, and but I'm never gonna like lose sense of who I am. Like, I'm still like Max, the creative guy who's made 200 music videos, and some gnarly ass, like, somebody can watch the main video and be like, what the fuck? But like, even this week, like I'm pitched on a series of commercials for this bourbon company.
Okay.
And I'm in Kentucky, and bourbon's a big thing.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I would love that.
For sure. And like the CEO was like, they were checking out some of our music videos, and the agency producer was just showing him around, and he clicked on a video of like, I think it was a Lil Lotus music video. He's like an emo rapper, and he has like crazy face tattoos. Yeah. And the producer was like, "Oh, we can go to something else. Like, we can." And the CEO was like, "Oh no, let it play. This is cool." He was like, hey, "That's exactly what we need. We need somebody young and hip who like comes from cool culture and shit." So I never thought in a million years that like some like metal music video or some emo rapper with like face tattoos would help me in like corporate America getting a job.
Yeah, that's funny.
My point is, like, I can't erase who I am or what my ethos and like my punk background of coming from that world. That's just part of my story. And like, rather than trying to hide that and be some like corporate commercial guy, like, I can just be myself and take that into like kind of my worldview and my identity and how I'll tell stories. And if any of that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. I just think that I think you summed it up in a good way. Like, you're deep down at the core, you're pitching, you're enhancing somebody's vision. And you brought up McDonald's, and I thought, okay, fuck,
I'm not doing a McDonald's.
No, it's good. No, it's fine. But I was gonna say, so I'm assuming that you would pitch like to companies that you stand by.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go do like a Fox News corny ass like.
I'm just saying that could be like a funny dilemma.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have morals here. I'm like, you know what I mean? But like, I did a commercial for this like VR virtual reality app. It's like a basketball game. It's called Gym Class.
Okay.
And it was like the client was going up on Meta's like Quest Oculus store, so like Facebook, whatever. And I made some post, and some person was like, "Oh, bro, like this looks cool, but like fuck you for working with Meta." And like, that's not me. I'm not that person. I don't get like, I can go shop at Walmart if I need something cheap and like not feel morally fucked up. Maybe everybody has a different view on it, but like, hey man, I'm sitting in my house in Kentucky making a living, so fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give one fuck what anybody thinks about. Obviously, I'm not gonna go do some crazy shit, like I said, like, but if it's like, if McDonald's, I do a McDonald's commercial, and I would lose zero sleep over it, and I would make great money, and I would move on with my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Well,
Not to
I
sound
feel
like
like
some like
you could
sellout bullshit guy, but
I feel like you could crush a Big Mac ad, dude.
yeah,
Like you could make the Big Mac look like a like something that you have to die for. You know what I mean?
exactly. Dude, serve the project. Also, like, Turnstile was just in a Taco Bell commercial, so hardcore and corporate America is meeting. So you never
Well,
know.
that's awesome, man. That is awesome. But
no,
they're coming.
yeah,
together.
not to like sell myself short as like some corporate like sellout with no morals, but I'm
No.
certain I'm all for like people chasing their bag. Like we live in America, man.
We got rent,
Go after
brother.
it, get after it. That's
Yeah.
how I view it. So
Well, the thing is, you've done the music thing, and I like from a creative standpoint too. Like anything different is worth trying. You know.
totally. And I'm still super jazzed on music videos. Like I'm team music video. Like if there's I'm definitely more selective of like what I take on these days. Like I get offers all the time. Like I don't have to do much to get music videos. Just I've done so many of them and have so many connections with labels and managements and artists and repeat clients that I don't have to do much to like get those jobs. So when they come in, but I've just found that I'm more selective. And like we said at the top, like at one point in my life, I was just trying to be the quantity guy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, he's always working, but I want to have a normal life. I don't want to like, I want to like be off on the weekends and go grocery shop with my wife on Sunday and not have to fucking work, just like basic normal life shit. And part of that is like being more selective with what I take on and making sure it fits my lifestyle and what makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm still very energized by music videos and like totally think they're awesome medium.
All right. So I think that wraps it up. Max, do you have anything else that you want to say?
Dude, I just want to thank you for having me on. Like, you're a creative dude and obviously have a successful track record with the podcast and wish you the best, man, and keep rolling and doing your thing. So thanks for hearing me jabber out about things that maybe nobody will care about. But
What are you talking about? I
appreciate
care
it, man.
about it. I care about it, man.